Captain Ethan Cole had seen many strange things in his career. He had faced hostile aliens, survived deadly terrain, and negotiated impossible treaties. But nothing had prepared him for the summons that morning. The alarm on his wrist buzzed sharply. A holographic message appeared. "Captain Cole, report immediately to the Grand Court of Valyria. Urgent." Ethan rubbed his eyes. He had just finished a week of field training with his unit on the outskirts of Valyria's forest moons. Normally, court matters were handled by diplomats, not frontline soldiers. Still, he knew he had no choice. Ignoring a summons from the Valyrian matriarchs could be considered a serious offense. He dressed in his standard military uniform, a mix of lightweight armor and earth. Abraxan took a deep breath. Outside, the twin suns of Valyria's sky bathed the capital city in pale gold. The Grand Court spires shimmered in the distance. Upon arrival, he was escorted through massive corridors lined with banners and alien inscriptions. Valyrian guards moved silently, their tall, lean forms gliding rather than walking. Ethan's heart pounded as he was led into a massive chamber where the court convened at the far end of the hall. 3 matriarchs presided. They were enormous by human standards, their skin shimmering like metal under the lights. Each wore ceremonial robes, decorated with gemstones and flowing fabrics that seemed alive. Ethan felt a mixture of awe and intimidation. "Captain Ethan Cole," said the central matriarch, her voice echoing in the hall like a melody. "You are summoned not for punishment, nor for diplomacy, but for duty. A duty that stems from your past actions." Ethan straightened. He could feel the eyes of dozens of attendants on him. "I do not understand," he said cautiously. "I have only performed my assigned missions. I follow orders." The matriarch inclined her head. "Orders do not matter in this context. Weeks ago, you saved 3 of our young cadets during a surprise attack. You risked your life to protect them. By ancient law, your actions have earned a great responsibility." Ethan frowned. He remembered the mission. They had been ambushed by hostile raiders while he and his squad were surveying a border zone. He had led the cadets to safety, taking several hits to his armor in the process. But he never imagined it would lead to this. "What responsibility?" he asked. "You are now the cultural partner to our newly recognized adult cadets," said the matriarch. "They have reached maturity according to Valyrian custom. The one who saves a life must guide it into the next stage of life. You are chosen." Ethan's stomach dropped. "Cultural partner. I don't understand. I'm a soldier, not a mentor for young civilians." The matriarch's eyes glowed faintly. "To you, it may seem strange. To us, it is the highest honor. You will guide them, teach them, and be their symbol of protection and unity. Declining this duty would dishonor both your species and ours." Ethan swallowed hard. He had no desire to take on such a role. But he realized refusing could spark a political incident or worse, offend the matriarchs. I will consider it," he said carefully. The matriarch nodded. "You do not have long. The decision must be made before the moons align." Cathan left the chamber, feeling unsettled. Outside, the streets of the capital seemed smaller than ever. His mind raced. How could he guide anyone into adulthood when he barely understood their customs himself? And what exactly did this cultural partner role involve? Back in his quarters, he reviewed the mission reports. The cadets Aralis, Solani, and Raiko were bright, strong, and brave. Each had survived the ambush, thanks to his quick thinking and leadership. They were now recognized as adults in their society. In human terms, this was like completing a rite of passage or finishing a prestigious academy program. Still, A could not shake the sense of unease. The Valyrians had complex traditions, many of which were difficult for humans to understand. Some of their customs seemed rigid, almost inflexible. Being forced into a position of influence over these cadets could be dangerous, especially if he made a mistake. The next day, Ethan was summoned again, this time to meet the cadets themselves. He entered a practice arena where they were training. The 3 of them stopped immediately when they saw him. Orlis, tall and muscular with fiery eyes, stepped forward. "Captain Cole," she said, bowing slightly, "we have heard of your summons to the court. You are to be our cultural partner? Ethan nodded cautiously. That seems to be the case. But I need to understand what this means for both of us. Scifi, calmer and smaller, tilted her head. It is an honor. You will teach us about strategy, strength, and responsibility. You will guide us as we transition into adulthood. That is all. Rika, curious and energetic, leaned forward. All. That sounds simple, Ethan smiled faintly, though he was still uneasy. Guidance is simple to say, but hard to do. I don't know your customs fully, and I don't want to make mistakes that could harm you. The cadets looked at one another. Mistakes? Orcs asked. Humans and Valyrians are different, Ethan explained. What seems respectful in one culture can be offensive in another. My job is to help you, not control you. That distinction is very important. Rika nodded eagerly. Then we will learn from you, but also teach you. That is fair, yes. Ethan was taken aback. He had expected resistance, suspicion, or fear. Instead, the cadets offered collaboration and mutual respect. Perhaps this wouldn't be as impossible as he feared over the next week. Ethan began to learn the nuances of the cadets' culture. He studied their rituals, their training methods, and even the ways they communicated subtly through gestures and expressions. He also introduced them to human techniques, teamwork drills, strategic thinking exercises, and lessons in negotiation and problem-solving. At first, the cadets were cautious. Orcs tested his patience with bold challenges. Scifi asked endless questions, and Rika constantly interrupted with bright ideas. But slowly, trust grew. The cadets began to see that Ethan was not trying to dominate them. Ethan began to respect their intelligence and strength. Despite progress, the Grand Court was not entirely pleased. Word spread of a human influencing Valyrian cadets, and rival factions whispered that a human should not hold such sway over their warriors. Tensions rose, and Ethan realized that his role would require not just teaching, but diplomacy. One afternoon, while practicing defensive maneuvers, a senior court official approached him. Captain Cole, there are whispers that you are weakening tradition. Some matriarchs believe that the cadets should follow Valyrian customs strictly, without human influence. Ethan frowned. I respect your customs, but my guidance is only meant to enhance their skills, not replace your traditions. Humans have values that might be useful, like personal choice and mutual respect. That is all. The official nodded slowly. We will see if the court agrees. For now, be cautious. Not all eyes are friendly. That evening, Ethan returned to his quarters. The twin moons shone bright in the sky. He thought about the cadets, brave, determined, and now under his guidance. He realized that this assignment, while unexpected and daunting, might also be an opportunity. Humanity had a chance to influence alien culture not through force, but through respect, logic, and courage. That realization filled him with a quiet determination. He would not fail these cadets. He would show the Valyrians what it truly meant to be human, honorable, compassionate, and strong. As he prepared for the next day of training, Ethan smiled faintly. The unusual verdict of the Grand Court was not a curse, it was a challenge. And humans thrived on challenges. For the first time since his arrival on Valyria, Ethan felt that he was exactly where he was meant to be. The next morning, Captain Ethan Cole awoke to the soft hum of Valeria's twin suns rising over the horizon. He rubbed his eyes, already aware that the day ahead would be unlike any he had faced before. The cadets awaited him in the training arena, their expressions a mix of excitement and focus. As he entered the arena, Orcs stepped forward first. Captain, today we will begin the trial of understanding. It is a test for all new adults. You will guide us through it. Ethan raised an eyebrow. Trial of understanding? He asked. I thought your trial was supposed to be a solo challenge. Scifi smiled faintly. Tradition says so. But your role is new. You will demonstrate human values while helping us navigate the trial. It will not be easy. Rika bounced slightly on her feet. Easy is boring. I am ready. Ethan took a deep breath. Very well. Then we start. The trial of understanding was a Valyrian ritual that tested physical ability, mental agility, and cultural knowledge. The arena was vast, with shifting terrain that changed at intervals. Ethan quickly realized that guiding the cadets would require more than teaching skills. It would require diplomacy, patience, and intuition. The first stage was the physical challenge. Climbing a steep cliff face while navigating moving platforms and narrow ledges. Ethan observed closely, offering advice on foot placement, balance, timing. Orcs charged ahead, confident in her strength. "I do not need help," she called. "You may be strong, but speed without strategy can be dangerous," Ethan replied calmly. "Watch the moving platform, it shifts rhythmically. Timing is everything." Orcs hesitated for a moment, then adjusted her approach. Slowly, she began to navigate the cliff successfully. Ethan felt a small surge of pride. The cadets were learning not just physically, but also how to value guidance without feeling constrained. Scifi, always cautious, paused frequently to study the path. Ethan gave her encouragement and helped her calculate angles and distances. By the time she reached the top, she had developed not only confidence in her abilities, but also trust in his judgment. Rika, unpredictable and energetic, bounced from platform to platform, occasionally losing balance. Ethan intervened just in time to prevent a fall, showing her the importance of patience and observation. "Speed is useful," he said, "but only when paired with focus." By the end of the physical stage, all 3 cadets had completed the challenge. Ethan realized that teaching through action rather than orders was already yielding results. Yet, he knew the larger challenge lay ahead, the cultural and strategic lessons that the trial was designed to emphasize. The second stage involved a series of puzzles embedded in holographic panels scattered across the arena. The cadets were expected to solve them individually and as a team. The puzzles required understanding of Valerian logic and history knowledge that Ethan did not possess. "This is where it becomes tricky," Ethan admitted. "I do not know your history fully, but I can show you how to approach problems logically, which may help even in areas I do not understand." Oralis crossed her arms. "Logic alone is not enough. Some solutions require intuition, not reasoning." Ethan nodded. "Then we combine both. Reason and intuition together create understanding. You lead with your instincts, and I will help organize them." The cadets hesitated, but slowly they began to cooperate. Orcs contributed bold, creative ideas. Scifi analyzed the patterns carefully. Rika experimented freely, sometimes failing, sometimes discovering new possibilities. Ethan guided them subtly, asking questions that encouraged reflection rather than giving direct answers. Hours passed. Sweat and concentration marked their faces, but slowly the puzzles began to unravel. By the end of the stage, the cadets had successfully completed the challenge. Together, not individually. Ethan could see that teamwork, a core human value, was becoming part of their understanding. However, not all observers were pleased. Word of Ethan's methods had reached a faction of traditionalists within the Grand Court. They believed a human should not influence Valerian cadets, and some even considered it dangerous. Later that day, Ethan was approached by a senior Valerian officer, tall and imposing. "Captain Cole, you tread dangerous ground. Some members of the court believe your influence may corrupt the cadets' understanding of tradition. They argue that humans cannot comprehend Valerian adulthood fully, and therefore should not guide it." Ethan met his gaze steadily. "I do not seek to replace your customs. I respect them deeply. My guidance is meant to complement, not overwrite. The cadets are learning respect, responsibility, and collaboration values that strengthen, not weaken, your traditions." The officer shook his head. "You may see it that way, but others see human interference where there should be none. Expect a formal challenge soon. The court favors action over discussion when traditions are threatened." Ethan felt a chill. A challenge in the Grand Court could mean tests far beyond training ritualized. Competitions that might be dangerous for a human outsider. He knew he had to prepare the cadets, not for physical combat alone, but for defending the principles of cooperation, trust, and choice. The following day, Ethan introduced the cadets to a new concept: ethical decision-making. In human society, he explained, strength alone does not define a warrior. Wisdom, empathy, and understanding are equally important. You must consider not only what is possible, but also what is right. Orlis frowned. Right is not always clear. Our traditions define what is right for Valerians. Exactly, Ethan replied, and that is why we learn from each other. You understand Valerian values. I understand human principles. Together, we can find a balance that honors both. Lonnie nodded thoughtfully. It is like combining two songs into harmony. Each alone is beautiful, but together it creates something greater. Nick's eyes sparkled. I like harmony. Ethan smiled. Good. That is what we will aim for. Harmony in thought, in action, and in understanding each other. As the cadets absorbed the lesson, a message arrived from the Grand Court. The challenge had been scheduled. A rival faction would formally test Ethan's role as cultural partner, using both strategy and ceremonial trials. Failure could result in the removal of the cadets from his guidance or worse. Political repercussions for the humans. Stationed on Valeria, Ethan gathered the cadets in a quiet corner of the training grounds. The court has issued a challenge. It will test everything we've worked on: your strength, your wisdom, your teamwork. But remember, the goal is not to dominate or intimidate. The goal is to show understanding, respect, and cooperation. Orlis clenched her fists. Then we will show them what we can do. Solani added calmly, not just our strength, but our minds and our principles. Rika bounced excitedly, and we will win together. Ethan felt a surge of pride. Despite the looming challenge, the cadets had internalized the lessons he had tried to teach. They understood that leadership was not about force, but about guidance, and that courage included standing up for what was right. Even against tradition, the day of the court challenge arrived. The arena was packed, filled with Valerian citizens, court officials, and rival factions eager to see a human either fail or succeed. Ethan stood with the cadets at the center, shifting terrain stretching out around them like a living puzzle. The first trial was ceremonial. Ethan and the cadets were asked to demonstrate leadership and strategy. Other teams performed complex routines, combining martial skill with precise rituals. Ethan reminded the cadets, focus on understanding each other, not on mimicking them. Show them your strength comes from cooperation, not control. As they moved, it became clear that their approach was different. Instead of flashy displays or rigid execution, the cadets worked fluidly, anticipating each other's movements, responding to subtle cues, and adjusting in real time. Ethan guided them with calm confidence, asking questions and encouraging reflection. The court murmured in surprise. The cadets' style was unconventional, yet effective. Their harmony and mutual understanding allowed them to complete tasks faster and more accurately than other teams. The second trial was mental, a series of logic challenges designed to test reasoning and strategy. The rival faction tried to exploit Ethan's unfamiliarity with Valerian customs, creating situations meant to confuse him. But Ethan's approach, encouraging the cadets to combine intuition with logic, allowed them to navigate the challenges successfully. Finally, the third trial tested ethical decision-making. Scenarios were presented in which choices could lead to personal gain at the cost of others. Many teams succumbed to selfish instincts, but Ethan and the cadets made decisions that prioritized fairness, respect, and mutual benefit. When the trials concluded, silence fell over the arena. The matriarchs conferred briefly, then returned their gaze to Ethan and the cadets. The lead matriarch's voice rang out. Captain Ethan Cole and Cadets Orlis, Solani, and Rika, you have demonstrated strength, wisdom, and respect beyond what our traditions expected. You have shown that true leadership does not come from force alone, but from understanding and cooperation. A wave of relief and pride washed over Ethan. The cadets smiled, their faces glowing with accomplishment. They had not only passed the trials, they had redefined what it meant to be a leader in Valerian eyes. Ethan looked at them and said quietly, "You have taught me as much as I have taught you." The morning sun bathed the grand court in soft golden light, casting long shadows across the marble floors. Captain Ethan Cole stood with Orlis, Solani, and Rika, preparing for the final stage of their journey. Word had spread across Valyria that a human had successfully guided cadets through the trial of understanding. But the rival factions were still restless. They demanded a final assessment, a challenge not of skill, but of leadership, wisdom, and character. Ethan could feel the tension in the air. The arena was filled with spectators, court officials, and representatives from every corner of the planet. Rival factions whispered and shifted uneasily, clearly hoping that this human and his cadets would falter under pressure. The lead matriarch rose from her throne, her metallic robe shimmering in the sunlight. Her voice carried clearly throughout the arena. Captain Ethan Cole and Cadets Orlis, Lonnie, and Rika, you have demonstrated strength and intelligence in the trials. Yet, the Grand Court demands one final demonstration, the test of harmony. This trial will measure not only ability, but the unity of thought, action, and spirit. It will determine if a human may guide our youth without compromising our traditions. Ethan's jaw tightened. He had prepared for physical, mental, and ethical challenges, but the test of harmony was different. It would test influence, trust, and respect on the largest scale yet. He turned to the cadets. "Listen carefully," he said. "This test is not about winning by force or rules. It is about understanding. Work together, trust each other, and remember everything we have practiced. Strength alone is not enough. Your actions must reflect respect, cooperation, and courage." Oralis crossed her arms, her fiery eyes shining with determination. "We understand. We will follow your guidance, Captain, but we will also act with our own judgment." Solani nodded quietly. "Harmony is not obedience. It is understanding and choice. We will honor that." Rika bounced on her feet. "And we will do it together." Ethan smiled faintly. "Good, then let's begin." The arena transformed before their eyes. Holographic projections created shifting landscapes, obstacles, and puzzles designed to challenge every skill the cadets had learned. Some sections required physical agility, others demanded logical reasoning. Yet the most important aspect was the final test, scenarios that measured judgment, ethics, and mutual respect. The first obstacle was a narrow bridge suspended over a deep chasm. The bridge would tilt and shift unpredictably, forcing the cadets to support each other and coordinate every step. Ethan led them cautiously, demonstrating balanced techniques and guiding them through without rushing. "Do not just follow me blindly," he said. "Notice the patterns. Communicate. Trust each other." Orlis took the lead, her strength keeping the bridge stable. Solani calculated the timing for each movement, giving instructions calmly. Rika acted as a scout, alerting them to shifting sections and hazards. Together, they crossed the bridge successfully, earning approving murmurs from the spectators. The next challenge was a complex puzzle requiring them to unlock a series of ancient Valyrian glyphs. The puzzle demanded both knowledge of tradition and logical thinking. Ethan encouraged the cadets to combine their strengths. "Rika, your creativity will help us see possibilities. Solani, your analysis ensures accuracy. Orlis, your courage will give us the confidence to act. Together, we can solve it." Get contributed. Ethan guided subtly, asking questions that prompted them to think critically rather than handing them the answers. Slowly, the glyphs aligned, and the puzzle was solved. The crowd gasped in awe. No human had ever succeeded in solving such a complex traditional puzzle with cadets. Finally, the last and most important stage awaited, the ethical scenario. Holographic projections created a simulated crisis. Resources were scarce, and multiple factions depended on careful decision-making to survive. Many participants in the past had failed this test by acting selfishly, or are so. Ethan gathered the cadets. "Remember, strength without wisdom is meaningless. These choices are not about winning, but about doing what is right. Consider the consequences for everyone involved, not just yourselves." The cadets paused, weighing the options. Orlis suggested a bold solution that risked personal loss for the greater good. Solani analyzed potential outcomes, ensuring minimal harm. Rika found a creative compromise that allowed for fairness and balance. Ethan guided the discussion, ensuring each voice was heard and encouraging them to make choices that honored Valerian values and human principles alike. After careful deliberation, the cadets acted. Their solution resolved the crisis efficiently and ethically, demonstrating unity, respect, and intelligence. The holographic simulation dissolved, and the arena fell silent. The lead matriarch rose, her expression unreadable. "Captain Cole, cadets, the test of harmony is complete. The Grand Court has observed your actions, decisions, and cooperation. You have not only passed the trials, you have redefined them. You have shown that a human may guide our youth without compromising tradition, using respect, courage, and understanding." The court erupted in applause. Ethan exhaled, feeling the weight of weeks of uncertainty lift from his shoulders. The cadets beamed with pride. They had succeeded not through power alone, but through thoughtfulness, cooperation, and mutual respect, values that transcended worlds. Rival factions, initially skeptical, were forced to reconsider. Some approached Ethan quietly, nodding in acknowledgement. "Your methods are unconventional," one admitted, "but they are effective. Perhaps we have underestimated the potential of understanding over force." Ethan responded simply. "Strength matters, yes, but respect, trust, and cooperation matter more." That is the lesson these cadets have learned, and it is a lesson all of us can benefit from. The matriarch spoke once more. "From this day forward, the law shall be amended. Cultural partners may guide cadets only through mutual consent, understanding, and respect. Force or coercion is not permitted. Captain Ethan Cole, you have set a precedent that will shape our traditions for generations. Humanity's principles have enriched Valeria, and we honor that contribution." Ethan felt a deep sense of fulfillment. He had entered this alien world as a soldier, summoned unexpectedly to a role he did not understand. Through patience, guidance, and the application of human principles, he had not only succeeded, but had earned the respect of an entire civilization. The cadets surrounded him, their expressions radiant. Orcs spoke first. "Captain Cole, we could not have done this without you. You trusted us, and you taught us to trust ourselves." Scifi added. "You showed us that leadership is not control. It is guidance, understanding, and respect." Rika bounced excitedly. "And we worked together." "We really worked together?" Ethan smiled at them. "Yes, together. That is the most important lesson. The universe is full of challenges, but no one faces them alone. Humans, Valerians, we can learn from each other, and we can grow stronger together." Later, outside the Grand Court, Ethan reflected on the journey. He had arrived on Valeria unsure of his role, facing cultural challenges and political opposition. Yet, through cooperation, courage, and respect, he had transformed a potentially dangerous situation into a triumph of understanding. The cadets trained alongside him, continuing to refine their skills and wisdom. Ethan's presence had not only guided them, it inspired them to lead with empathy, intelligence, and courage. News of the trials and the human success spread across Valeria, becoming a symbol of what could be achieved when civilizations shared knowledge, respected differences, and embraced collaboration. Humans were not conquerors. They were mentors, allies, partners in progress. Ethan realized that the true victory was not in winning trials, puzzles, or challenges. The real achievement lay in bridging cultures, inspiring trust, and showing that humanity's values, courage, honor, and empathy could resonate across the stars as the twin suns dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the city. Ethan looked at the cadets and said quietly, "This is only the beginning. There will be more challenges, more trials, and more opportunities to learn. But together, we can face anything." Orcs, Scifi, and Rika nodded, their eyes shining with determination and pride. The path ahead was uncertain, but they would walk it with courage, wisdom, and unity. Ethan smiled. Humanity had left its mark not through force, not through dominance, but through principle. And in doing so, He had shown that even a single human could inspire an entire civilization to embrace understanding, cooperation, and growth. The story of Captain Ethan Cole and his cadets became legend on Valerian, for their strength alone, but for their courage, their wisdom, and their humanity. In the end, it was a simple truth. True power comes from respect, guidance, and the ability to inspire others to be their best. And so, humanity's values shone brightly across the stars, a testament to courage, honor, and the enduring spirit of HFY.